We're just letting everyone get in and then we will get started. Give us a few more seconds to make sure that everyone gets in. Okay. Hello, hello, welcome. This is our 57th Tutorial Tuesday, and it is sponsored by Zen Yarn Garden. And tonight we are doing crochet edgings with Mary Beth Temple. I'm Laura Cameron. I am a sample knitter for Zen Yarn Garden, and I help out on these Tutorial Tuesdays. And today my role will be somewhat limited because I am not a crocheter, but I will hang out in the background and share some links. We do have a giveaway tonight. Tonight we are going to give away a skein of yarn, and it's going to be sort of grab bag style. Roxanne's going to select something lovely and send it out to our winner. So I will be asking a trivia question partway through the evening, and I will let you know when it's time to open your chat windows, and we will do that. So without further ado, I am going to turn it over to Mary Beth Temple and let her get started on tonight's tutorial.
Hi guys, welcome back. This is my 4th Tutorial Tuesday with ZYG, and I'm very happy to be here to try and encourage you all to come over to the Crochet Dark Side. Now, I hate to tell you, tonight's class, we're going to have some math, but the idea that we're going to work on tonight is how to put crocheted edgings on knitted items. Now, I'm doing squares. Not that this only works on squares. You could, be a sweater hem or a collar or something like that. But what I like about showing on the square is we can address going around the corners and the difference between working in the top and bottom, which are very similar, and the two sides, which are very similar, but they're not similar to each other. So the first thing I did, well, let's see, the last thing I wanted to show you, I did just design this little edging just for you guys, and I hope we get through all of it. Half an hour is not a long time, but if we don't, I was just saying to Laura, I'm going to have to make a blog post out of this. So some of the math I have done off camera, again, just in the interest of time. So I have knit a 6-inch square and blocked it, and this is just plain old worsted weight yarn. And all of the tips and tricks I'm going to give you will work no matter what weight of yarn you're using. Of course, you should be using Zen Yarn Garden, but I just wanted something very plain and simple for the video so you could see what's going on. A lot of people are frustrated putting crochet edging on knitting because they try to just go stitch for stitch, and that never ever works. I try not to say always, I try not to say never, but I'm here to tell you, if you try and just put as many single crochets around your piece as there are stitches or rows, you're going to have a mess because crochet stitches are so much wider than knitting, or yes, the knitting stitches. You really have to do a little bit of math. So I made my 6-inch square and I slipped the first stitch of every row to give me that nice side edge of slip stitches to work in. And then I took the same yarn in a different color, obviously, and a larger hook. So that's the first tip I want to give you. Just as an example, I used a size 8 knitting needle to knit this swatch and got a lovely fabric that I like. But I went all the way up to a J or a 10 to get a pleasing crochet stitch. I didn't want it to be stiff and horrible. I wanted it to have some drape. So you're not going to just automatically use the same size crochet hook as you did knitting needle. You're likely going to want a bigger crochet hook. So then I did a gauge swatch, and this is kind of cheating because the only thing I cared about for this narrow edging, my edging is only, 1.25 inches tall. I don't care about row height. The only thing I really cared about was the width of the stitches. So all I did was 4 rows. I think I did 25 or so stitches. And I did a couple of rows just because the foundation chain, especially if you work in the front of the foundation chain, like many of us were taught, it tends to pull in a little bit. It tends to be a little tight. So I put just a few rows on here so I could get more accurate gauge. So when I measured this, I decided that I was getting 10 single crochets to 4 inches. Now this is a 6-inch swatch. So I need 15 single crochets on each side, right? 10 to 4, and then 5 to 2. So that's going to give me 15 on each side. Well, the next thing you have to pay attention to is when you're knitting in stockinette or basically any other stitch, the number of rows and the number of stitches that you have is not the same. The knit stitch is not square. So I'm going to have to do some math to get 15 up each side. And then I'm going to have to do different math to get 15 on the top and the bottom. So I'm looking for my yarn here, which I have already dropped. So the first thing I did was I counted the slip stitches that I had on my sides. And you're never going to believe this because I did not do it on purpose, but I had 15. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to start, it doesn't matter where I start. I'm not going to start on a corner because I want to make sure that we get to where we're going. So the first thing I'm going to do, let me double count this swatch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Actually, I think this side's a little easier to see for whatever reason. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So if, for example, so I'm going to go ahead and just start with a single crochet. So for my case, I'm just going to put 1 single crochet in each slipped stitch. Let's see how close I can get without it getting blurry. And I'm putting my crochet hook under both loops, both legs of that stitch. Yarn over and draw up a loop. Yarn over and draw through 2. That's a single crochet. Into the next stitch under both loops or legs. Yarn over and draw up a loop. Yarn over and draw through 2. So that is a single crochet. I started with a slip knot on my hook. Now, what would happen if I needed 15 and I only had 14 slip stitches? In that case, I'm going to do it and rip it out. I might just go ahead and put 2 stitches in one of those slip stitches. You're never going to see it after you block everything out. So that's one way to sort of address that. But when we get to the top or the bottom, whatever's coming up next, we'll talk about what happens if you have more areas to stitch than you have stitches that you need. Okay, I just want to, one more thing, and then I'll let Laura do her thing. No matter what stitch you're doing, no matter what edging you're doing, I highly recommend that you put the single crochet border or edging on first. And the reason it matters is if you do all of your thinking now, if you do all of the thinking and all of the math that you need to do now, when you get to put your decorative edging on, who cares? You already know the math works out. You're not going to have to think about anything. You're not going to have to guess about stitches or fudging or any other kind of thing. So no matter what I'm doing, I'm going to try and put that single crochet edging on first. And I can just put the single crochet edging on it and call it a day if that's what I want to do. So when I come to a corner, I'm going to put 3 single crochets in the corner. In crochet, you need enough stitches to go around the corner. That's extra real estate that isn't there when you're working flat. For single crochets, I do 3. For half double crochets, I do 3. For double crochets, I do 5. I like an odd number because that gives you an obvious center stitch for when you're blocking. So I prefer that to an even number. And the taller the stitch, the more stitches you're going to have to put in that corner. So now I want 15 again, but I had 20 something stitches on here. And if I go in every stitch, I'm going to have a problem. So what I'm going to do, there's one. So once again, I'm going under both available legs of that stitch. 2. And now I want to take one out. You have 2 options. One is I could just skip it and go to the next one. And if you're a beginner crocheter, if you're very, very new to this, that is a perfectly reasonable way to do that. I, however, do not love how that looks. So I'm doing, this is called an amigurumi single crochet decrease. It's what people do when they make stuffed toys. But instead of doing a single crochet 2 together, it's going to give me sort of a lump. I'm going to go under the front loop only of the next stitch and then under both legs of the next stitch. I'm going to yarn over, draw through the stitch and that little extra guy, have 2 loops on my hook and finish my single. Let me do that again. Under the front loop only, and then under both legs of the next stitch. I'm going to yarn over and draw it through all of those things and finish my single. So what happens there is you don't get that big gap that you get when you skip a stitch. But again, if you have to skip a stitch because that's easier for you, what did the yarn harlot used to say? That stuff will block right out, only she never said stuff. So Laura, if you want to, we're halfway. Yeah, I guess we're only 10 minutes in. Do you want to do your giveaway while I get to the next corner?
Of course. Okay, so open your chat windows. This is a trivia question from what Mary Beth has been telling us about. So when you are adding a crochet border to something, do you want to use a hook that is the same size, larger, or smaller?
Oh, that's a tricky one.
Well, you know, I try and come up with something good. Looks like almost everyone got it. Let's go with Lynn Monahan. You had the correct answer. So go ahead and message Zen Yarn Garden in the chat and she will get you your skein of yarn. And the correct answer is you want to go a little bit larger. And of course that you'll be checking your gauge swatch to see if it's approximately what gauge you are getting with your hook to see how it will relate to your knitting. So
very cool.
Okay, I will turn it back to you.
I do want to point out that Roxanne very kindly puts these tutorials up on YouTube if you want to watch this again, because I'm giving you a ton of information in a short period of time. So here we are in the corner, and I put my 3 single crochets again, because I want 1 on this side, I want 1 on this side, and I want 1 to be central, especially if I'm going to block this later. It's very important that I know where my corners are. And it's much easier to pin out a corner if I can see a stitch. Now I'm on the opposite side. I'm on the side row, the side of the row, pardon me. So I know that I have 15 slip stitches because this side and this side are going to be exactly the same. And then I'm going to come up to that next corner and I'm going to put 3 in the corner. And again, remember, what if you wanted to put double crochet for your first round? What if you didn't want to do single crochet? Again, in that case, when I get to that corner, I'm going to put 5 maybe. The taller the stitch, the more real estate that corner needs to take up. So let's just jump into that corner right here again. We're going to put our 3 in there.
So you do not count your 3 for the corner in the 15 that you're picking up along the side. That's an extra.
I did not. Now,
okay.
I'm going to talk about something. I was wondering when to bring this up, Laura, and I think now is the time to do it. So on this side, which is the bottom of the piece, or maybe the top, I'm going to do the same thing I did at the bottom. I'm going to in my case, for my math, I'm going to take out every third one, and I'm going to do it by doing that amigurumi single crochet decrease, which is pulling up the first loop only, the front loop only. And it's a little snug because my hook is bigger than my knit stitch was, but this is the neatest way to do it. So Laura, since you've opened this can of worms, so Laura's question, which I think was great, was, am I going to count those corner stitches on my 15? And I am not, but here's where I might. So say, for example, so the edging I'm going to teach you tonight, if we have the time, is was perfect for this class because it doesn't require a specific stitch multiple. It doesn't need an odd number. It doesn't need an even number, whatever. You know, it's a multiple of 1. So it would be easier to do for a class like this because we don't have to do math. However, if you were doing a super fancy edging, maybe you needed a multiple of 4, a multiple of 5, a multiple of 7, a multiple of 6 plus 1, you know, whatever you're going to need. And in that case, Laura, I might consider adding another stitch or taking another stitch away. Again, I want to force that stitch multiple while I'm putting my first round on, or my first row on, if I was to say edging a cardigan or something. I want to think about that math there. I do not want to think about the math when I'm dealing with stitch multiples. So I might, you know, it's I don't want to say it's fudging, but it's fudging a little. It's adjusting what you're doing to accommodate what you want to do next.
Well, it's comparable to in knitting, where sometimes if you get down to the bottom of the sweater, you need to add a stitch or 2. Well, I guess a stitch or 3 or whatever to get yourself into the right number of stitches to add ribbing.
Yes. Yes.
Unless you're doing 1 by 1 ribbing, or, you know, but you gotta get to either a multiple of 2 or a multiple of 4 or a multiple of 6, depending on what your ribbing looks like.
Exactly. Exactly. So if you're doing some elaborate fancy stitch pattern, think about the multiple before you put your base round in. So the good news, Laura, is that you asked that at the perfect time for me to finish this round. So I'm going to go ahead and join with a slip stitch in my first. Now, again, this is pulling up a little bit because I blocked the knitting, and obviously I haven't blocked out the edging yet. But I have the same number of stitches on all 4 sides, even though these 2 had 1 set of places to stitch, and these 2 had, oh, sorry, hit the camera. These 2 had a different number of places to stitch. So these 2 are going to be the same mechanically. These 2 are going to be the same mechanically. But for a perfect square, I want the same number of stitches on each side. Now, if I'm going to sew this together, if I'm taking knit swatches and putting crochet edgings on it and sewing it together and what have you, I can be done right now. I could cut this and pull it through, but I do want to show you this cute edging. So I'm going to do half double crochets for my next round. So I'm starting with a chain 2. I am going to have that count as a stitch. So for the half double, I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook in the next stitch, yarn over, draw up a loop. I have 3, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to yarn over and draw through all 3. That's all there is to a half double. And I won't do the whole round in the interest of time, but I do at least want to get to the corner. Now, we were talking about where you can find some basic crochet information, and you can find it on the Zen Yarn Garden YouTube channel, because I did this last week. We learned single crochet, double crochet, and half double crochet last week. So if you need a refresher on the basic stitches, then we already have that up there for you. So I'm coming up to my corner, and I can tell because I have 1, 2, 3 in the same stitch. So I know the central one of those is going to be my corner stitch. So I'm going to put 3 in there again. again, I've been crocheting longer than some of you people have probably been alive. So if I was concerned that I would not be able to find my corners, if I was a new stitcher and I was really worried about perfection, I might take a locking stitch marker as opposed to the ring markers that we knitters normally use, or a safety pin, or a piece of yarn in a different color or whatever, and I might mark that central stitch. And I could do that on all 4 corners if I wanted to. I'd say, okay, well, I'm putting 3 in here, and the middle one, I know that's where the corner is going to be. So this is a great time to use stitch markers if you are concerned. I do want to get at least to the next corner. I do this every week. I think, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get through this in a half an hour. And then it's like, oh, I talked really fast and we were done in 10 minutes.
Well, and if we go a minute or 2 over, it's not really a problem either.
Well, you know me, I'll always pull out something out of my ear to share with the room. Do we have any questions from you guys while I'm getting to the next corner?
Doesn't look like it, but if you have questions, please just put them in the chat and I'll read them out. So one of the things that techniques like this are really useful for is if you decide you want to make, say, a blanket made of different kinds of squares, and you could be using this as a joining technique. That's not exactly what we're doing tonight, but you could, for instance, put a round of single crochets around each of your squares, and then you could use any stitch pretty much to join them using crochet. And there are a lot of fun blankets that can be done that way. And it means that you won't necessarily have to seam and you can continue to join as you go.
Also, I will say crochet seams, as you were saying, they tend to be a little thicker, but particularly if you're doing something that's going to get a lot of wear, if it's going on your living room couch or going to a baby or what have you, crochet seams are very durable as well, but it's certainly faster than trying to whip stitch. Although again, if you wanted to whip stitch, that gives you a nice edging. So once again, I just wanted to show this one more time. Here's my 3 stitches in the corner, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to put 3 in that corner. Now again, more of an art than a science. If you discover that that corner is pulling, that it's not laying flat, maybe you do need 5. Half doubles are we're sort of in the no man's land in between. They can take 3, they can take 5. But again, having done this edging a little bit earlier, then I knew that 3 was going to do the job. So I could also have this knitting in the center, and I could keep going and, you know, make it just huge. The math works as long as you're treating those corners with respect. Then the math is going to work.
So my other question is, did you half double crochet into each of the 2 stitches on the side of the corner stitch?
Yes, I put a half double crochet in every single stitch and with 3 in the corner.
Right, so you started with 15 on each side and then 3 in each corner. So then
right,
you half double crocheted 17 on each side and put another 3 in each corner.
That is absolutely correct. Look at you. See, I was trying to not scare them with the math.
Well, I'm just trying to give them the idea that your border will grow over time, and that's because it will need to get around the outer edge. So you will not have 15 the whole time.
Right. That is an excellent point. You know, I'm going to go ahead and finish this round. We have the time.
Okay.
And again, you can check, put this down and see if it's laying flat, and you see that it is. So you know you're fine. But again, if I had seen that and it was pulling, I might go ahead and put some extra stitches in there.
We had a question that said, I've seen some interesting decorative crochet techniques for seaming squares together on Instagram. Is there a good source for these?
Instagram. I'm trying to think. My favorite book on this, and I'm not affiliated with this book in any way, I just really like it. There's a book called Around the Corner Crochet Borders, and it's been out for a long time, but it was written by Edie Ekman, who is a person who is also by crafty like me. She does knitting and crocheting, so she understands a lot about what happens on both. Now, that book is not specifically about crocheting on knitting, but she talks a lot in that book about how to address corners and to get around things. I don't know, maybe I have to do a blog post on joining. There's so many different ways to do it too.
Okay,
So here I am at my last corner, but again, completely unaffiliated. I just really like that book because back in the dawn of time, in the olden days, you know, you would get a crochet border book and everything was straight, right, in rows. And then you get the corner and you're like, well, now what the heck am I supposed to do? Because as Laura was pointing out earlier, not only is each side growing with every subsequent round, all of those extra stitches are sort of forced into the corner, right? They're not growing equally. They're going over here. So if you have something with a tricky stitch multiple, it might work on some of the rounds, but it might not work on all of them, and you're going to have to fudge a little bit. And so the thing I really like about that book is she shows you how to address the corners. You know, maybe it's slightly different on the corner than it is on the side, and that helps you make sure that everything lays flat and even. So I think she did 2 of them, but I really like that book. I just think there's so much good information in there. And again, if you put a single crochet round, then you can fudge after that. So here's my half double crochet round. Did I lose the plot? Yep.
No.
I started talking and I started single crocheting instead of half double crochet, which is not going to work for the next round. Oh my goodness.
Well, I've added a link to the chat with the book that Mary Beth was just referring to. It's an Amazon link. Please find it at your local yarn store if you can. But I do know that Zen Yarn Garden doesn't carry books. So I just added the link for reference.
So the last thing that I want to show you before we end tonight, and again, let me see if I can pull this up. I've done this edging. You see this? I really like, the reason I did this, I really like my own work. That's what that sounded like. But I really like how the edging, this particular edging that I'm teaching you, mirrors the stitching that's inside of the knitting. It really sort of marries the knitting and the crochet together. But also I want to make sure, again, that I have something easy to stitch into, whether I'm stitching this into another square or I'm building another piece on it. I still want to make sure that I have a firm edging to work into. So to get that little ridge, here's what we're going to do. We're going to join our half double crochet round with a slip stitch, and we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and we're going to turn the work, which I don't always do when I'm working in the round and crochet. I very often just keep working essentially in a spiral. And in this time, I'm not going to let that chain 2 count as a stitch. So here's what we're going to do to get that ridge. So I'm going to yarn over to do my half double crochet. And it's the same stitch in a different place. So instead of going here under the 2 legs of the stitch like we've been doing, I'm going to grab this one. We call this the horizontal bar or the 3rd bar if you're Googling how to do the stitch. So I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to go bottom to top under that bar. Yarn over, finish my half double. Actually, you're going to really punch me. I think I did singles. I literally just designed this afternoon. I think we're going to make it a single. All right. So we did our chain 1 and turn. Chain doesn't count as a stitch. We're going in the horizontal bar. So the reason that has to be a half double in this second round, see, I'm grabbing the horizontal bar, going bottom to top, underneath just that one strand. The reason that has to be a half double is because a single doesn't have a 3rd bar. So that's why I switched to half double for the second round. So I'm going to show you what it's doing, but then I'm going to keep going because then you can see it. So what's happening, this is really a little bit technical, but Laura loves technical. These these stitches at the top where we normally had worked, by going in the vertical bar, I'm pushing them away from me. And that's why I had to turn the work. And because I'm pushing them away from me, boom, there they are. but it looks like a Latvian braided cast on in knitting, doesn't it? Isn't it cool how it kind of goes from side to side? Now, today for me, when I got to the corner, I did not add extra stitches because today for me, for that piece, it was laying flat. I was done. If I was going to put subsequent rounds on this, I definitely would have added extra stitches on the corner. But because all I'm doing is finishing this off, and I'm not really adding that much height, right? Because that stitch was basically here and it's rolling over. So I'm not adding a ton of height. You can, if you need to, put your 3 single crochets in the corner. But I did not because it was laying flat and I didn't feel like I needed it. And I wanted to make sure I had sort of an unbroken line all the way around. So all I would have to do is finish that round, join with a slip stitch right here and end it off. And let's go back to our first sample so we can look nice and close. So as you can see, that line continues all the way around and it's unbroken. You can't see the beginning or the end. But again, if I wanted to later, if I wanted to put more edging on, or perhaps I was going to sew this to something else, this would make a really cute pocket. I have that edging right there. I still have my stitches set up so I can work into them again if I needed to. Do we have any more questions? Because I think we're done. I think we did it.
Okay. Well, I just want to say thank you all for coming tonight. Thanks to Mary Beth Temple for joining us. We are working on scheduling more Tutorial Tuesdays. One of the things we're talking about is we're going to be adding a 2 socks at a time because we are working on sourcing sock blanks that come double-stranded. So you can knit from 1 sock blank for 2 socks. And we're going to talk about 2 socks at a time. I also think we might be talking about doing socks toe up so that if you buy fun gradient yarn cakes that come 2 at a time, you can start at the toe and go all the way up to the cuff and not waste anything. So that's a little preview of what's to come. If you are not already signed up for our email list, you should definitely sign up there at our website. That's how you'll find out what's coming up. Also, if you're not into getting emails in your inbox, you can also check out our Facebook group and keep an eye on Instagram for Zen Yarn Garden. You'll see what we're working on. And my guess is it'll be a couple weeks before we get anything else scheduled because we're in the midst of feverishly knitting up samples and getting things ready. But as Mary Beth said, all of these tutorials are available on our YouTube channel. I'll add that link one more time. This one will be there later tonight or tomorrow. It will be posted in the Facebook group and you likely will get an email with a replay. She also went over all of the basic stitches last week and also in our on the double shawl pattern, or poncho pattern, which came out a few weeks ago. And honestly, once you know the basic stitches, the single crochet, double crochet, half double crochet, you can do a lot of different things with edging because much like knitting, it's you're crocheting multiple times into 1 stitch or you're going to crochet a cluster and then skip a few. And so all kinds of decorative edging, if you have the basic stitches, you'll be able to work on them some. So thank you again to Mary Beth Temple. Thank you all for joining us. Thanks to Zen Yarn Garden for hosting and offering a prize. And we will see you guys again soon. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.